Captain's Log Supplemental.
Hey Jeremy, you know those race cars you're busy building?
Yeah, I do. I
You,
got one
you,
that I'm looking at every day.
you know what I don't see you working on?
You don't see me working on the amazing Sentinel system yet.
That's true. It would take all of 10 minutes for you to have one.
And it's very quick and easy to install.
It is. It is. And we could watch you when we are not at the race with you and see how you're doing. And then we can call you up when you get out of the car and tell you everything you did wrong.
And I love that because so many years I've been driving and not been able to see what I'm doing.
I know.
And now we can.
I know. You know what I'd like to do with the video? My most favorite thing is I take the video and I load it on YouTube and then I send it to my coach and say, look at 26 minutes and 17 seconds. Look at this one lap and tell me what I can do better. And every single time, you know what they say?
Everything.
Exactly. Precisely. So with the Sentinel system, you get instantaneous feedback plus useful feedback that unfortunately is accurate for my driving.
I think it's accurate for all of our driving.
Pretty much. Yeah, that's probably true. Yep. But you need to get one in your car, sir.
Yes, I do. And with the discount code that you're going to tell everybody, they can save 10% on this awesome system.
Yep. Trouble free. I haven't had an issue getting video every time we've gone out with the Sentinel. It's always worked. Can't say the same for some of the other systems we've tried. So I don't know. It's on the podcast notes down there. Don't do it while you're driving, though. We like to have our listeners live. It's good.
From the great halls of their house, there are assembled three who hope to one day be the world's greatest driving heroes. Created from the cosmic legends of the universe comes our team captain, the Vision, Bill Fisher, and their soon-to-be Wonder Woman, Vicki Fisher, and our Captain Marvel and head flight trainee, Jennifer Skripchuk. Their mission: to fight injustice, share what is right and wrong, to get you out of your house and come out racing with them and serve all mankind. They are the Garage Heroes in Training Team.
Welcome to the Garage Heroes in Training Podcast. I'm going to be one of the hosts of this episode. My name is Bill. Who else is hosting?
I'm Vicki.
You are. She still is. Miss Vicki, we have returning guest closing in on his honorary co-host shirt, well on his way. He is one of the few racing drivers that brings me back flashbacks from when I was playing volleyball and I had to look up to everybody. He's one of the few race drivers that I have to look up to because the dude is tall. He is fast.
Oh, is he?
He is. He helped me endlessly at the last pit race when my car decided to become a paperweight.
Oh, I do remember that.
Yeah. Yeah. And he made it get fixed well enough that we got to go back the following week and put the final fork in it and have to replace the engine. But nonetheless, none of that was his fault. And maybe we'll be able to say this at the end of the podcast. We'll see. Welcome back to the podcast, Dewey.
What up?
So,
How you guys doing?
Good. So, Dewey, we had you on several months ago now. And it seemed like, you hadn't done a lot of podcasts when we first had you on, and now, a few months later, you have two.
Yeah, we were your podcast, and I had talked to a couple other people. We've been doing live casts. I've been doing live casts for a really long time. I've been doing them for like a weekly live cast for years, and a lot of people would digest that content just audio only. They'd be driving down the road or they'd listen to it on as they were working or whatever. And honestly, it just made sense. I was putting a ton of effort into doing all the visual stuff when it didn't really work, and it was so much easier to do it in an audio format, and then I could bring more people in, and like it really worked out. So it was a little bit of you guys and a little bit of Tom O'Gorman and DJ Ellis and Dreeny's Lizard Brain podcast.
Yep.
And I was like, this just works. And I think it'd be easier to get it out and for the community to digest it. Then I can get it onto more platforms easier. And it just worked out. So I switched it to the podcast format it is now. And it's been growing pretty fast. The IEG one has. And then there's a lot of stuff I can't. Either it isn't really topical for like super oriented, super community stuff, or maybe it's a little too spicy for that because I do got to kind of put on a cheery face for that. And a buddy of mine really wanted to put together another podcast that maybe veered off into more of the paddock drama stuff. And that's where Heat Exchanger came from. So it was me and Devin doing Heat Exchanger. And then recently we just brought on James Houghton, and that is really taken it to another level.
It has.
Last week we had Jackie Ding on, and that was brutal because Jackie and I have quite the history, and it was a lot of just dunk on Dewey for a week. So it was fun, but we've been having a really good time with that too. So it's been awesome. We even had the CEO of Grid Life on.
I saw. I am up to speed with everything. I haven't seen the one with Jackie Ding, but because there was two things when I saw the name Heat Exchanger and I saw you were doing it, I was like, there's two episodes that are must see. Well, I don't know, must listen. I don't know.
Yeah.
One was Jackie.
Yep.
Had to happen.
Yep.
And the other one, Dewey, listener request, long time listener, never time caller. We need to know, what is Time Attack?
Oh, it's coming.
Okay.
This is Sunday Cup Time Attack or not? And it basically a response to a time attacker who was on another show.
Yes.
I then made a reply on, this is why I had to split these. I made a reply on the IAG Thursday thing, and it's been a Cold War. It'll come to a head here soon, but I am going to have that conversation. It's just, we've had a lot of almost time sensitive topical stuff come up very recently that we wanted to stay on top of, but we're about to get into silly season and where absolutely nothing is going on. And that conversation is definitely going to happen because I have a lot to say on that topic.
Yeah, it had happened just before you came on one of the times earlier, and I don't remember if we left it in the episode or we cut it out of the episode. I'm not quite sure, but I am looking forward to the discussion because it was something that you got a little fiery about. I can't wait.
It's in my soul. That one still burns me really bad. A lot of it is I just don't believe a certain group of people get to decide what Time Attack is. That's really what it comes down to. So.
When I got done listening to the episode for the second time, I'm sitting there going, I'm trying to think in my head how many cars in the US fit what the definition of Time Attack would be. And I was having trouble coming
their
up with
definition of Time Attack.
Their definition, yeah.
Yes.
And I was sitting there going, is it 3? Is it 4?
3 to 5?
Yeah, I'm sitting there going, no, this cannot be true.
No, that isn't, and it's not. Okay, it's not.
For sure.
I mean, I can sum this up really fast. The idea of what he believes Time Attack is, like you're saying, only accounts for basically what he was saying is if there are rules involved, it's no longer Time Attack. But Time Attack originated for rules immediately were implemented when Time Attack started. It had to be a VIN chassis, and they were already implementing rules. And then when somebody tried to make a car that really had no rules, they excluded it and got all mad about it because it didn't run on the right type of tires, So rules existed even in Japan. There's always been rules. So whatever. The way I look at Time Attack is the rule sets are all just different size sandboxes.
Build it to the box. Plus a little bit.
Well, you can go right up against the edge of the box, but don't dent it.
Some of the edges of the box tend to be a little lumpier than perfectly flat.
And sometimes they move around, and sometimes the walls aren't exactly even. But yeah,
it's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay. There's some people in Formula One who've made a lot more than we'll ever make by doing the exact same thing. So,
Hey man, one of the best books I have ever read in my life is How to Build a Race Car by Adrian Newey. It's so good.
Every now
So
and then
good.
I do the audiobook when I'm driving around just to refresh myself and go, so much more we could do.
I have this book floating around too. I'd have to find it, but it was Ross Braun. It was the former team principal of Williams interviewing Ross Braun.
Oh wow.
It was amazing, and it went right up until like the time frame that this was written was right before Mercedes. Well, actually, Mercedes had won their first or second championship in the turbo era. It was right in that time period. It was really good. Like really good.
Yep. All right, Miss Vicky, you know
Yes.
Dewey from Grid Life. We got to see him when we were at NJMP. I believe it was the hottest day ever in the history of the world because it was
Mhm.
ridiculously hot that weekend. My God.
And what are you driving again?
Who, me or him?
Mhm.
Me,
You.
I drive a. Most people know me for a 1995 Impreza L
Okay.
called Boogeyman. So
Mhm.
it's a ridiculously fast Subaru, and then I've got a 13 BRZ that I beat the snot out of as my trainer, and I've got a few other guys I'm helping with their cars, so I end up driving that stuff. So if basically it's a Subaru, I'm probably driving it.
So Dewey was one of the guys we called when we were trying to figure out how to fix Liam's car that got waterlogged.
Yes, yes,
I, I
yes. Me
had
and
to,
Alan flipped that engine, which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
and full of juice.
Full of juice.
Full of
Yeah,
juice. Yeah,
yeah, that was a hot mess.
we know what hydrolock means now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
that's the
absolutely
thing.
know what hydrolock is.
That's a thing.
Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, the good thing was it was only the engine.
Yeah.
So it didn't hit its electrical system. And that's the main thing I was worried about was it actually hitting um that part of it.
Whatever, let it.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, but I didn't want to have to replace all
that's,
that crap
that is an
either.
awesome excuse to go get you. The ECU will be trash, but then you go get a new link that just plugs in and it solves all sorts of problems.
hmm
Is it ever that easy though?
It is. It'll blow your
Yeah.
mind.
Yes. Well, my mind
Yeah.
had never realized that the exhaust could form a straw and suck all the juice out of the ground and put it into the engine, and that's usually
Yeah,
not the
that
good direction.
was
But beyond messing with Subarus and driving them extremely fast, the key to time attack is putting together that one fantasy lap, that one super flyer, the one to rule them all. It doesn't matter when, it doesn't matter where. You just have to do the one. And for us, sometimes we have races where you actually have to qualify for your grid spot. Sometimes we
Right.
have races where it doesn't really matter. So when I said, we've never really talked about how do we get the ultimate lap? How do we prepare for it? What's the strategies involved? Because we don't do it that often, but it would be nice to know. And some of our listeners do it more often than not. It depends on what series they were. I thought, well, Dewey's kind of shy. He's not doing anything,
I'm so shy.
so shy, he needs to get out more. He doesn't get out on the podcast webs anymore. He only does 2 podcasts. Let's get him on again. So, Dewey, is there any strategy, or you just put the hammer down and just turn the car on and you know go around one time and park the car and say, "Yep, that's it."
Yes. Okay, so
All right, thanks for coming
I
on,
mean,
Dewey.
yeah,
That's
this has been
awesome.
great.
That's
Sure is.
right.
There sure is. Yeah. So, look, I want to sit here and say that I'm not gonna lie. Everybody's got a strategy. Everybody's got a plan. You know what? Mike Tyson said it best. All right. Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth. So,
hmm
you try to plan the best you can, and really what you're trying to do, it seems like you have all these shots to go run this perfect lap, but the reality of it is you don't.
Nope.
And now with Grid Life's current format, you really don't. But Even when it was your standard time attack setup and it was just the fastest time you ran over the weekend. Okay. The fastest lap is all that matters. Um, really, there's going to be some very prime sessions most of the time, especially during the summer. That it's going to be a morning session. It's going to be a little bit cooler. The track's going to be clear. Your best chance is going to be only maybe 2 or 3 sessions of the weekend. And so you do have to get it done within a particular time frame. And then if you're talking really fast time attack cars, you start talking about even street class, but street mod and up more than anything. You have to within that session, you're going to be lucky to get 2 laps,
Right?
and that's your tires ain't going to make it. You're going to cook your tires. Your car's going to get hot because it is high strung as shit, or it's going to blow up. And you're not carrying a ton of fuel. And then not only that, you're going to start running into traffic. So I can give you some of the thought process that goes into some of this strategy, but the reality of it is you take every opportunity you can to get the job done. But more than likely, if you don't get it done on the prime sessions, you're kind of screwed. Now with Gridlight's new format, you have to, the only time that really counts is when the podium sprint is going on. So you have to qualify to get into the podium sprint, and then you have to lay everything out for the podium sprint.
So one of the things that I didn't realize when I did my first time attack with you guys, and I was in Sunday Cup, which some people say I still haven't done time attack, but that's a different podcast. We'll talk about.
You did time attack.
I don't know. I've heard people differ, but that's just poking the bear, trying to make sure you're revved up for the episode that I really.
Oh
really
man,
want to see.
you're gonna get me screaming at my microphone, and it's only Friday.
Well, we got to get you. You don't want you to fall asleep on us. The thing I didn't realize was it's not that easy to get an open spot.
No,
it's hard. It's like a skill unto itself beyond driving.
It is, especially. I got to be real. Sunday Cup. Once you get up near the top of something like Sunday Cup or Club TR, and the more even the cars tend to be, the easier it is to kind of figure a lap out.
Right.
Okay. But when you're a little further back and people are still trying to figure it out, it's a lot harder because you may find a second and a half, which will completely change, or you totally understand a section of the track and you might pick up 2 seconds, or somebody else behind you might figure it out and pick up 2 seconds. So where you thought you had open track, you no longer have open track. But once you get up near the front and people are really, instead of them hunting for seconds, they're looking for tenths or hundredths. Spacing is a little easier in classes where the cars are fairly similar in speed. But then you start getting up into the higher classes. Street, not so bad because the top 5 are very similar in design. But in street mod, that's when stuff starts getting wild, because the top 5 in street modified all make speed different ways. We might be within 1 or 2 seconds for all our lap times or whatever. We've had podium sprints and final times come up where the top 5 are within a half a second. So we're all really close, but we all built that speed differently. So some of it is understanding how to space yourself out and understand where you make speed versus where they make speed. And it is it can be tough depending on the track. It can be really tough.
Yeah, I thought I left plenty of room for the spacing, and then I blew it. And then specifically talking about New Jersey Thunderbolt, I would catch up. Like, I know the back half of that track very well, and the front half was still relatively new because that was the first time I'd driven that car. So I made up a ton of space, like going into the Octopus. section, the
Yeah.
back section, and then I would just drag, and then I'd be like right behind somebody, and that's not really a great passing spot. So then I'd blow that lap, but then I'd blow the lap after it because I had to back off to get more space. And, I never got the accordion quite right. I never got that clean lap. So,
And that's again, you're also talking about Sunday Cup, which the lap times are slower, but you're still going to you got the opportunity to maybe do 5 or 6 laps. Your tires are going to be fine the entire session.
Yep.
In fact, there's an argument to be made that your tires aren't really going to be up to temp for at least 2 laps with a Sunday Cup car.
mm-hmm. And I don't have to worry about my engine getting hot. I don't have to worry about the stuff that you have to worry about.
Club TR, same situation. Most of those guys are, though they, the top end guys have corrected me on this a few times that they're doing their fastest laps in the first 1 or 2. But when I would go take my buddy's Club TR car out, I'd run Jeremy Bailey's car. It'd always be like lap 4. Now, some of that is probably me getting more familiar with the vehicle too, but I felt like the tires were at their best at like around lap 4, just due to, how the nature of that vehicle. But then you get up into, street modified, you got 2 laps. Like that's it. And I got to be real. That first lap is probably your prime lap. Your second one, if it's hot out, you're not getting that second lap. Okay. You could maybe come in and let the tires cool off and go try to get one more, but you're going to go out into traffic again. Right. By that time, everybody is going to have spread out and you're running up against, you start to run into, especially in a standard time attack format, no matter what class you're in, you're actually organized by time. So you could have, if you're running near the top of street modified, more than likely you're mixed in with a bunch of track modified and unlimited cars.
Right.
And, but there could be some really, really fast Club TR cars in the back that manage to get up into Group A. They're going to make their speed so dramatically different. We could be talking, 12 seconds, 15 seconds a lap difference between the top of one and the, of Group A, and right. You get the same thing in Group B. So like if you were to pit in and try to find space, even though it will seem like they gave you a full straightaway of space, your typical Club TR car makes 230 wheel horsepower and me on low boost makes 600. I'm going to make the space up really fast.
Right. And then it matters what track you're at, because you got something like
Absolutely.
Road America that's, 1,000,000 miles long, and then you got Lime Rock, which is, 1 square block.
That's true.
Well, one of the nice things about Road America is there are boatloads of really long straightaways. So getting around people on Road America isn't bad, but let's take something like Gingerman is horrific. Okay, Gingerman's really bad, hard to get around people. Lime Rock, really awful to get around people and kind of get yourself figured out. But a bad one you wouldn't think is all that bad is Mid-Ohio, where you have these 2 fairly long straightaways. Okay, so you can really get cooking. But then you hit that back section and it's super technical. Yep. And you'll end up running into traffic in ways you cannot predict. There's no way you could give yourself enough space.
Right. Yeah, you don't want to catch somebody, especially in your car. You don't want to catch them like China Beach or Madness or anything, because then you're kind of screwed for.
Oh, where I would always hit them is like Honda Bridge area.
Yeah.
And there's no way you could space it out the right way. So nope. you couldn't even see them until you damn near rear-ended them in Honda Bridge. Yep. And it's not their fault. They're going at whatever clip they need to. It's just the cars are drastically different. Or somebody was like, all right, I'm going to take a cool down. All right, and this happened to me a few times. Some of them cost me events, and it really on Mid-Ohio specifically, I'd end up catching them in Thunder Valley. And the problem with how a lot of the section back there works is they don't even realize you're coming till you're on their bumper.
Right.
So they can't even like try to get offline. They don't even know you're coming until, and especially when you're in a car that is really fast. Like you are cooking. Let's talk a sub 130 Mid-Ohio car. Like you're booking. and it's unreal how fast you can come up on somebody, and no matter how good their mirrors are, like they can't just live in their mirrors. They have to drive their vehicle too. It just happens so fast. It happens so fast. And I'm guilty of getting in other people's way. It's rough. And
I feel that way about New Hampshire is kind of similar to that. Our New Hampshire you end up muscling your car around more so than anything else in certain aspects because you're racing into those certain spots where you can make a chase for it. But is there a lot of contact sometimes that happens?
Actually, that's one thing I can say about Time Attack. Almost zero.
Really?
Oh yeah, that's it. One thing I will say is Time Attack drivers, for the most part, at least Grid Life, and I haven't seen it in any other series, they'll abort the lap. It isn't like if they have to abort the lap, they'll abort the lap. It's absurdly rare to have a Time Attack car contact another Time Attack car. The only time I've ever seen it, where there was probably a little more contact than they should be, is Sunday Cup like fit drivers were playing around with, especially on Road America, bump drafting, but that doesn't count.
Nah, bump drafting doesn't count.
Depends who's doing the bumping. Sometimes it does. Yeah. If anybody bumps Miss Vicky's Miata for the near future, stay away. She's not going to be happy with you.
No, really. I got to break it in first.
There's some other aspects too. I had a really good conversation with DJ Ellis and Drini.
Mm-hmm.
He's been trying to figure out how to like understand somebody's like perfect heart rate.
Yeah.
Especially so I've had situations where I've went out on the track and I am just chill. And I can tell because I am so chill, my brain's not in the right space. And especially with I'm not gonna lie, I am ADHD as they come. I am ooh shiny squirrel bad.
I was going to say your chill is still somebody else's pretty fired up, by the way.
Well, by all means, but if I go out and I am legitimately chill, so if I seem like a normal human being at that point, I am probably really chill. And my brain will wander all over the place. And I will miss apexes, my braking won't be right. I will fall into bad habits, all sorts of stuff. I will leave a lot of time on the table. In I won't get into my zone until my tires are trash. And then I'll have other situations where we're trying to, something went wrong with a car and we're trying to slam the thing together and get everything right. And I'm, cars are about to pull out and I'm just throwing my helmet on and strap it in and like we're losing our damn minds. And I'll go out there and my heart rate will be through the roof because I'm pissed off about whatever and nothing's working. And I'll go out and I'll be way too hot and totally miss that mark. Also, trying to find that heart that perfect, heart rate, level of amp. I don't know what you'd want to call it. There's something very much to that, but I can tell you don't want to go out completely cool as a cucumber, and you don't want to go out there losing your mind. Okay, maybe I don't know what some people need to do. Maybe do some jumping jacks, work out a little bit, slap yourself in the face. I have no idea. One of my pre-race rituals, unfortunately, is I will get a whole lot of anxiety built up, and then I have to go around the front of my RV and yak. That tends to be at a typical Grid Life event. I will yak 4 to 5 times. It's very much not good for me, but
no.
It's
not good for the grass either, do we?
No, it ain't great. But it's funny because Dylan he'll ask. He's like, "Have you puked yet?" I'm like, "Nah." He's like, "Man, you ain't worked up enough." And like, if I don't puke, usually something awful happens. We
need a different barometer, though. We need to
we gotta figure something out. But you got to figure out what works for you. Okay. Some people, they get super in their heads and their heart rate goes up before they even go out there. maybe it makes sense for you to get out there early, hop out of your car, walk around, smell the grass a little bit. Or some people, they need to get out there, like maybe they're too chill, and they need to do some jumping jacks, run around a little bit, figure out something to get themselves like really in the zone before they go out. But I really think it's almost directly tied to heart rate. I've noticed this thing when I do a lot of sim racing, and then I actually realize I do it in the car too. If I'm sim racing, it tends to happen. I'll really start getting into a rhythm. And usually when something starts getting intense, I'm got a lot of cars around me, I'm making some passes, whatever. And almost always when I'm really afraid I'm gonna throw something away. Okay, so this happens to me really bad when I am on a banger lap in my car. Okay, and my aim is like full green, and I know I'm about to set just a monster, and I am excited as hell. I start getting this weird involuntary tick where I will start shaking my head. And I've tried to talk to other people about it, and everybody's like, "You're crazy." Like, I don't know it's like adrenaline or something that gets me there. It's really kind of a pain in the ass on my sim because I use VR, and like you're starting to shake your head and stuff's getting weird. But I've it's actually helped me doing a lot of sim racing where I realize it's happening now, and I try to slow my heart rate and just think about the simple things, like really go back to the basics. Look ahead, be smooth, be smooth on braking, just really start like going through the basics of going through every individual corner just to try to slow it down so it slows down for me. But yeah, time attack is rough.
Especially in your car, you get so many shots. It's just,
No, you don't. It's like if it ain't happening, it ain't happening. It's rough. You got to get it done, especially in something like Boogie. You got 2 laps if you're lucky, and honestly, out of that of a day, you probably have 1, maybe 2 sessions that are worth a crap.
Right.
So really, you've got 4 laps to figure it out per day. And let's say a typical time attack event, your standard style time attack event really only goes over 2 days, maybe 1 session more, so 3.
Yeah. And you've even with Grid Life, when you have the final show, you still have, what do you have?
2.
4 laps? 2 laps.
Yeah,
Well,
it's an out lap, 2 hot laps, and an in lap.
In lap. So maybe
Yeah,
if you make it to the top 5, you get 2 more laps. So, no pressure.
Yeah. That's you make it to the top 5, that's you've got that, and you've got to get it done right there. And so that extra pressure of you have to do it right there also gets thrown on top of, am I keeping this car together? Can I manage the tires? Am I over braking going into one? Should I try something new to try to find more time?
Did a car get a yellow flag? Oh, sorry. Is that triggering?
Yeah, or if they cause the yellow flag, which
Yep.
Yeah. That then you have all the external stuff, and it's hard to get in and turn all of that off. Or not get really worked up if something externally, it has nothing to do with what you did, ruins what you did. A good example was Mid Ohio last year. I was up 3/4 of a second coming into China Beach, and it would have been enough to win the event. Okay.
Yeah.
We were dealing with all sorts of stuff. Okay. That weekend, we had a trans that went, we had to put another trans in that the gearing just wasn't right. So we were messing with all sorts of tuning strategies to try to flat foot shift into 5th, because there was this huge gap between 4th and 5th. And everything worked correctly on that lap, and the tires were still good, and everything was, so we were 3/10 or 3/4 of a second up, and we were in a really good spot to probably win the thing. I go to turn into China Beach, something that had absolutely nothing to do with me. It just happened. I threw my power steering belt.
Dick.
And I got to be real, it stuck in my head for the rest of the weekend. And I could never find that time again. And we looked at data to see where we were at. And yeah, I was legitimately 3/10 or 3/4 of a second up there. We are like 7/10 up.
That's pretty
Everything was
early.
going great until it wasn't.
Until it wasn't. And then so you have to somehow be able to turn your brain off from that. And what really sucks is going up to the podium in second place 100% knowing that time was there. Like I knew where that time was. And that's really rough dealing with that. Another situation also at Mid Ohio, not the year before, but the year before that, Jackie Ding showed up out of nowhere, and totally got into my head. And if I would have just drove my lap, I probably would have laid the time down that I needed to. But it was so much in my brain that, he showed up and I know he's going to lay a certain time. So I need to go try to find more time than I even thought I needed to find. And which I didn't, and ended up, running the car off the track in a stupid spot and, ruined my entire session. It was the only good session we were going to have because then it rained, and it was all in my head. And I'm actually really impressed on how well this I think is the big difference between your typical, your grassroots driver, somebody like me. Yeah, I can lay a lap down, don't get me wrong, but I'm not a professional. I'm absolutely not a professional. And I think the ability to be able to separate that, you can be fast and not be a professional.
Right.
And that's the difference. I think they've mentally conditioned themselves in a way that it just impresses the living shit out of me. You watch like Formula One qualifying or NASCAR or any sort of pro level stuff. It is incredible what these guys can get out of these vehicles, and how they can make that happen in a very tight window.
It's probably easier. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's probably a little bit easier when you don't have to buy and or fix what you broke.
I agree with that. And you have like a giant team around you, so your only purpose is to drive. But there's a flip side to that, okay? That, yeah, these guys are paid to be there in their condition. All they have to do is drive. But the flip side to that is if they screw up, they don't have any excuses. No. Like if you didn't lay it down, they absolutely lack excuses other than I screwed up.
Yeah, because that is their job.
It is their job, and that's all they do. They didn't have to work on the car. That James brought this up the other day, and the big difference of your like your typical grassroots guy. He's interested to see how like a lot of these pros, maybe who are running IMSA or whatever, that are almost they're considered pros, but maybe they're not. It's not their day job, but these guys are really fast, right? But they have a crew around them. He'd be really interested to see some of these guys show up with some of these vehicles, and it was just them. They got to show up at 2 a.m. They have to unload the car. They have to be at the driver's meeting in the morning. They have to put their transponder on. They have to run their own data. They have to change their wheels and tires. They need to bleed their own brakes. They have to do this stuff to see how much that actually changes it hurts their overall speed. And I think he's right. I think it's a part of the sport when you're at the level we are. Like if you've got to do that stuff, there's so much more to it. There's more on you at a grassroots level than there is on a pro level where maybe you've got the money to have a whole team or whatever around you, and all you have to do is show up and drive, and all you have to do is think about making speed and driving. It's different. It is a completely different game.
Yeah, Jay Lamb, who runs Lemons, says that in order to win a Lemons race, it's not how good you drive, it's not how fast you drive. It's a manner of program management.
That's fair,
and especially for endurance racing. The fastest car. If you look up the fastest lap of the weekend, it is rarely the car that wins.
I mean, that's it. Literally, is the polar opposite of Time Attack,
Uh-huh.
and almost identical in the same way.
Yep.
It is that's actually an interesting take, but it's we have the term we use is it takes a village.
Sure.
And it really it does. Like, yeah, it's Dylan and I at the track most of the time. And I don't want to discount any of the other guys who come out and help out, because we do get them every once in a while from all walks, guys who are interested in the program, guys who just want to like see what Time Attack is about. I tell them to come out and crew. And those guys are always super helpful. Friends, guys running to go get parts for us, all sorts of stuff. But then behind the scenes, when we aren't at the track, we got. I'm super fortunate to have some of the support that I have. Because of what we've managed to do without resources. I think it makes companies like Garrett, they're more apt to be like, we know you're going to do stuff with this turbo, or IEG, I work there, but we've done a lot with not a whole lot, and I think there's something to proving if you can do something with nothing, it's a little easier for a company to maybe not hand you money, but hand you product because it might be proof that it's easier to prove before this product they were here, after this product they were here, and it makes for a good story, and it's a good product testing.
So the internet loves top 5 things. Not that we're going to ever hit the algorithm, because we're in racing. We're a subset of a subset of a subset of a niche. So if you were to say somebody's going out qualifying, give me like 3 things or 5 things that they should do, and 3 or 5 things that they shouldn't do if they're going for their.
So they're qualifying, or this is
Time Attack.
A Time Attack session, like a really important Time Attack session.
Like they need this is it's Sunday morning, it's going to rain, and Saturday was a junk day for them.
This is it. Okay.
They got one.
You got one. This is it.
Like, do you push it, or do you put a banker in, or do you?
Well, first thing I want to say is the session starts before the session.
Nice.
Okay. It absolutely does. I can't speak for too many other vehicles, but I think a good rule of thumb would be your session actually starts an hour before your session. Okay. You need to be completely prepared. I would give at least an hour. Okay. Show up to the grid early. So you're not rushing to do anything, because that shit gets in your brain. All you should be thinking about is driving. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Next thing is you really need to understand who's going to be around you and kind of have a plan. All right. So
you're talking to the other drivers?
Either you're talking to the other drivers or understand where you're sitting on the grid. Okay. Because let's say in Time Attack, let's say I have something like a Ryan Matthews in front of me. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe behind me I have I don't know, Kyle, for whatever reason, has been having a shit weekend, but I know his car is crazy fast on the straights. Yeah. All right. I need to figure out how I'm going to space, because Kyle is not going to be all that fast on the straights, but he's going to be ballistic in the corners. Okay. So I need to figure out how I'm going to space myself and have that plan before you roll out. Go out with some sort of plan. I can't stress that enough. Do your best to have some form of plan. Because especially in Time Attack, you're going to need to do that, and you're going to have to, you got 2 laps. So you got to get this done as fast as you can. Okay. As far as like the lap itself goes, if you have one session, if I can give you any bit of advice, if you know you can make the time, you just have to put it together. Don't make any drastic changes. Okay. If you've got to go looking for the time, I wouldn't. I still wouldn't make any completely insane changes. Okay, don't totally change your alignment specs.
I can go flat through that turn.
Yeah, I wouldn't I wouldn't go flat I wouldn't go flat through the turn unless you 100% know you can go flat through the turn.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Things of that nature. In time attack, you get a lot of swing for the fences of I'm gonna throw in a situation like we have where we're not power limited and we have a turbocharged car. I can kind of swing for the moon with power. If I want to. I could turn the knob and absolutely crank the thing. That might not be the best answer. You want to if you're only going to get one, you want to make sure what you have under you is very familiar.
Right.
A lot of times you're going to make significantly more time just getting everything right, and if you start adding more variables, it's going to be harder for you to get everything right. Now, if you've had a bunch of laps over the weekend and the one variable you're going to add is horsepower, that's different. But if you've got to get this done right now, this is all you got. Try to limit the amount of variables you're adding.
Are you kind of banking on somebody else messing up a little bit too because the pressure?
It's going to happen.
Yeah.
And yeah, to a certain degree, you are banking on some other people messing up, and it will happen because people crack under the pressure, or they're swinging for the moon or trying to make something happen where there isn't something to happen. I think getting a banker in, like you were just saying, for those who don't understand what a banker lap is, it's go out there and get a good solid lap that you can kind of be proud of. Try to get that on your first lap. And then if you were going to try something, try it. At least have that banker in there so you can go attempt something. If you were going to go flat through the corner, maybe wait till your second attempt at it to do it. Don't do it on your first attempt. Because you're going to want to have some form of lap in.
Right.
And again, this all comes down to what's at stake. I'm not gonna lie. I'm sitting here saying all this advice, but then I could come up with 100 different scenarios. Let's say we were at pit race, and a perfect example is Peter Granberg. Okay. He lost the championship by 3 1,000ths.
Yep.
That is literally taking a shit. That's not even that. Like that is a breeze. I would send every amount of it I could for that. I wouldn't even think that all the corners would be flat.
I wouldn't recommend a couple at pit race. But,
all the corners.
All the corners. I got them all. They're all good.
And the problem with that is it leads to, horrific overdriving. But yep. I can tell you, I would be looking for time. When we're looking for 8 100s, I'm going to go looking for time. And I would do things like, especially if that happened halfway through the weekend, I would be swinging for the fences. Power would be going up. If I felt like there was some corners where the car was unplanted and I needed to make some drastic aero changes, I would do it.
What if somebody's
probably not? Would I?
What if somebody's looking to break that little barrier at Gingerman this year?
I'm going to tell you right now, every single session that we go out, and it will be the same thing for probably the top 5. Every single one of us are going to throw all caution to the wind, and we're swinging at the fences until somebody breaks it. When the barrier gets broke, people are going to chill out. But I'm going to tell you right now, I will, until that sub 130 barrier is broke, that knob is going to be turned to 11. And it won't just be me. and there's going to be a lot of overdriving, and Adam's going to be really pissed because I guarantee we're going to have a couple offs, and they're going to come out of street mod because we're all trying to be the first one to break that barrier. Because I got to be real, the first one to do it, the first one to do it, it's going to be the one that people remember. Even if somebody follows 1/100th of a tenth of a second right behind them and goes slightly faster, the first person to do it is still the first person to do it. Barriers are a little different. Don't at the end of the weekend, a record will be set, and it might not have been the first person to do it, but it will go down as the first person to go sub 130 in a street mod car at Gingerman is whoever that is. The record will continue to be reset. That record will never be reset.
So who's going to do it besides you?
If it's not us, which I think we've got a ridiculously good shot at it. Our car is really good there when it's right. I haven't had a correct car there since, oh man, it's been a long time. It's been a long time. Probably 4 years that I can say I showed up with a car that I actually really like. I could say was really good for what it was at that point. But if we show up with a correct car, I think we've got the best shot at it. And this isn't me bragging. I'm just very legitimate, especially due to the rule changes and things they've been doing. Us being able to do a sequential interstock gearbox now is massive.
Mm-hmm.
Alan Patton is going to be right there. I think Alan with better temperature last year probably could have done it.
Mm-hmm.
Alan's incredible. The guy is an absolute beast.
Yeah.
And he is people I don't think realize it yet. Because of Jackie, the rest of the class has gotten so much faster. So it's hard to understand how fast Alan actually is, but Alan is definitely the fastest driver that has ever ran in street mod. He's just incredible. Right there is going to be Kyle, who is
right.
Also a really good driver. He's just not Alan. Okay. And Kyle will even tell you that. But Kyle has this amazing thing behind this amazing thing going for him in his car, and that is gratuitous amounts of horsepower. And that car is fast, and it can make up for maybe the driving deficit. And that's one of the cool things about Time Attack is if you can engineer a car, you can make up for maybe your lack of, I don't want to call these guys, none of them are bad drivers. It's just you have a different level.
Of gray.
Yeah, and it really is shades of gray. That's a really good way of putting it. I think we're probably the top three, but there's always those dark horses. Okay, that Omic's car I think is very capable of it. And I think Omic could put something together that would be right there. Cal has got a ridiculously fast, ridiculously well set up car. He's an extraordinarily good driver. And if he shows up with a little more horsepower, that could be scary. Then Ryan Matthews has done a ton of work with a naturally aspirated Corvette over the years and has always been ungodly consistent. But consistency isn't the thing that gets you there in Time Attack. And he did lose an engine last year at Road America, and I'm terrified of what's going in that car now, because Ryan with more power is going to be scary. So you have Ryan, and then you always got Super K. I love Alex. We'll see if they get that car sorted out. We all thought that car was going sub 130 years ago. Like, we all called that car going sub 130, and it's been one technical thing after the other, and then he had to take some time off, and it's been a rough development situation for him, but they've got that car pretty locked down now. So he's going to have a little more horsepower. He could be in there too. So like every single one of those people I just mentioned all have a shot at it. If the conditions are right and they put it together, they could be the first one. Like any single one of them. Again, you always have dark horses that are showing up. It could happen. Alan came out of nowhere. Like nobody even knew who Alan Patton was till last year, and then he showed up and literally laid waste. So it could happen again.
So Dewey, you get a very big splinter in your toe, and you can't drive. Okay.
Okay.
Would you rather someone else break the record, or would you rather Tomo in your car break the record?
Oh, you're really gonna make me answer that?
Yep.
Oh no. Okay,
It's a
so
big splinter. You just can't do it.
this is gonna sound shitty, but I really don't care. Okay. First off, my fragile ego couldn't handle somebody else doing it in my car.
Okay.
Now, if I do break it and then somebody hops in my car and goes faster, I
Mhm.
could handle that.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
But
you
I
want to be
can't
Chuck
handle
Yeager.
not being the first one to do. I got to be Chuck Yeager here. Okay.
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 I'm cool with that. I expected that answer, but I was just sitting
All
there
right.
going, which one
Now,
hurts you more?
if let's say I get a giant splinter in my toe, okay, and the option is put Tomo in, or I have to just live with somebody else. As long as it's not a damn Supra, I will be. Oh, I think I can sleep at night. But if a Supra does it before everybody, I'm gonna be pretty damn busted up.
Oh, jeez.
See, these are the questions we need to know.
Oh man, that one hurts. I honestly, I'm gonna now that that's in my brain, like that's all I'm gonna think about. Like that's gonna ruin me all the way until June. Thanks.
That's why we come on the Garage Heroes and Training podcast. You know, we're not quite as heated up as you are in your other podcast, but it's quite fun. But you know what? That sets us up for the great questions that we always end our episodes with. Dewey, you get to do them again.
Oh, that's fun. Let's do it.
We got more. Miss
right.
Vicki, you want to start? You want me to start?
I'm gonna let you start this one because we've already done this once before.
Yep, and I gave you the
So-
doc, so you have it.
What's that?
You have the doc. Anyway, okay, so if you're going to go to a track, what is your favorite track and what is your favorite turn? They don't have to be the same place.
Mm. Mm-mm-mm. Okay, I don't remember if I had been to Barber.
I don't think so.
It kind of depends on what car I'm driving. Okay, I love Mid Ohio.
Mhm.
I'm really worried Mid Ohio is going to be weird after the slight change to China Beach. I'm a
What
little
they do to
worried.
China Beach?
China Beach has been it's not so much of a sweeping on camber corner anymore. It's been flattened out and it's a lot more of a sharp angle. The concept to it was I think they were sick of cars trying to go in too fast and then losing their brakes and then they'd ramp into China Beach. So what they're trying to do now is you would go in significantly straighter, less of a chance of you getting onto the inside grass and then skating over the ramp, and having to slow down more to make a much sharper corner to go up into Madness.
Hmm.
So I'm a little worried that it's going to. I really China Beach was one of my favorite corners. I did love that. I'm worried that it's going to ruin Mid Ohio a little bit for me. I'm sure I'm still going to love it. But the corner coming into Thunder Valley,
Mhm.
that kind of goofy off camber, and the car steps out and you slide over the hill. The car goes really, really light as you're coming over the hill with counter steer. Your foot's right to the floor. It just feels being crazy to me. That's my favorite corner, and that I love that corner. I absolutely love that corner. As far as track though, especially if I get to do it in like a BRZ, I'm a little worried about taking Boogie there, but Barber is so good. It's just an incredible facility, and in a lighter weight, especially rear wheel drive car,
Mhm.
lower power rear wheel. Good luck having more fun on a track than Barber. Pit race isn't far behind, but Barber.
Hmm. So, my turn. What is your most memorable car breakdown on the road or track?
Oof, man, I've had a bunch of those.
I know which one I think is your most memorable, but
I mean, throwing a rod through the top at Laguna and
Mhm.
the car burning to the ground, that's gonna definitely stick in my craw for years. I would say that's probably my most memorable. It's not like my biggest triumph, but yeah, it's that one hurt. Which we had already won the championship and it wasn't that big of a deal, but man, did that absolutely destroyed us for the very next year.
Yeah.
Like we wanted to make some fairly serious changes, but it made us hit the entire reset button, and the amount of damage that did was unreal. So yeah, that one's probably it. It was pretty spectacular.
Yeah, how I remember that one happened, and then Ben Thorne had his shifter break, like within.
Yeah.
It seemed like within minutes, but it wasn't minutes. But I mean, it was just like, oh my God, this is
Oh
killing,
man,
that's killing me.
I was watching that as I was pretending to sleep because I didn't want to see people.
Mhm.
So I was in my RV watching that, and I was so gutted for him that after the race,
I know.
I went over there and hugged him.
I felt so bad.
Yep.
I was in the midst of if they ever decide that they want to come on our podcast, that would be great. But I was in the midst of writing him a DM saying congratulations, and all of a sudden the car just pulled over. And I was like, oh,
We were all pulling for him too.
I know.
Like I think the entire paddock was so stoked for him.
I know. It was terrible. 5 cent wash or whatever it was. It was crazy.
Yeah.
All right, sir. You didn't get this one the first time, and Vicky's sister Jennifer's favorite question is, what is your favorite car movie or car from a movie of all time?
This one's easy. It's Smokey and the Bandit, and it is
Oh,
definitely a Trans Am.
There we go.
It is. I think that movie has more to do with my personality than any movie in history. Burt Reynolds was
You do remind me of Frog.
Oh, thanks. Sally Field was a stone cold hottie in that movie.
Uh-huh. Jackie Gleason is awesome.
Jackie Gleason was great. It's quotable as all hell, but I mean, big jumps, T-tops. How fast are you going? Oh my God, that says over 100. Are we going over 100 miles an hour? It was, oh my, yeah, that movie had a lot of influence on me. Even more so than probably Fast and the Furious, which really, if that movie wouldn't have existed, I wouldn't be where I am today. But yeah, as far as influencing me and like my favorite car movie of all time, it's got to be Smokey and the Bandit.
Excellent.
So what's the one thing that nobody knows about you that would surprise them?
Mm,
You have a secret hobby? You have a secret talent?
I bet you not many people know that I own over 9,000 comic books.
Ooh,
Oh,
Yeah, and one
Bill,
of
there you
me and my
go.
wife, one of my favorite things to do is we go hit up weird little comic stores all over the place. Anywhere we go in the country, I go hit up weird little comic stores, and it's one of my favorite things to do. They're almost
Awesome.
all DC, and yeah, I'm very very big comic book nerd.
Nice.
Bill, Dewey, Bill.
How you doing?
We should talk about comics someday, man.
We can do that. We can do that for quite a bit.
Yeah. I could do that all day long.
Part of the fun of our moving has been how many thousands of pounds of comic books I have. So
my friends hate me because I'm like, hey man, you guys want to come over? They're like, I ain't touching your damn long boxes.
Yep.
We're actually building a room in our attic right now, so we have a nice place to put them and read. Like we had a really good setup.
You better reinforce that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah, we're gonna have to. We're actually gonna build in drawers. Like we saw some really really interesting setups in some of these comic stores and stuff we could build ourselves, so we can like pull out drawers because we got a lot of I would say 3,000 of them we'd actually read. The rest of it is more my wife especially is a completionist.
Mhm.
So yep.
I understand. We have we can talk runs later, but we'll that'll be in the OnlyFans Garage Heroes and Trading podcast when we talk about that.
Hey, I'm down. I got a pile of them.
And you know what? He's got a couple other guys who are also very much into it. So you guys could have like a whole podcast just on that.
We've done it before. That's the great thing about having your own podcast. You do whatever you want.
You do whatever you want. Garage Heroes could mean
That's why
garage
it says
comic books.
exactly.
He might be really good for the,
Mood episodes.
topic.
Yeah, we can do that. All right, sir. How much of racing is learned and how much is natural skill?
10% natural skill.
Okay.
90% learned.
Okay. I always say that to a point, everybody can get there, and that lasts a little bit.
I would say, I think you can get 95% of the way there.
Mm-hmm. And that lasts a little bit.
I really believe that, and I'm saying this even as myself, okay, and I've had a little bit of success and done some stuff. I could never do Formula One. One, I am shaped like the Geico Gecko.
You could drive 2 Formula One cars, but you couldn't drive one.
2 Formula One cars. You could wear them as skates. But mentally, I don't think I'm there either. I just don't, and I don't think at any point in my life I was ever there. And I don't. I'm not saying I couldn't maybe condition myself to get most of the way there, but I think there's, if you really want to, there's a difference between like somebody who's running at a Formula One level or even top end NASCAR. These guys who are like really at the top end. There's a mental aspect to it that I don't think everybody has, but that doesn't mean you can't do a lot with what you have and really enjoy what you're doing. So it shouldn't discourage anybody.
No. So how much of Dewey potential has Dewey reached?
A few years ago, I thought I was maxing out. I almost walked away from the entire sport. Getting a sim has been really good for me. Realizing that there is more in me that I can get out. I need to put effort into not just me, but other things on the car, marketing and stuff like that. And I think that's a part of my potential that I need to tap a little better. I need to really put my nose to the grinder. As far as like, grinding for sponsorships and stuff like that. I need to do more on that level. So I think there is some potential there. I also could probably eat better. And that would actually help me on a few different levels mentally, but I'd shed a little bit of weight. I picked up some holiday weight that I need to get rid of. And, so let's say I'm every once in a while I have to put things in perspective and go, look, I am 42, I'm not a 22-year-old kid anymore. I'm not an 18-year-old kid.
You act like one, but
I do, and I do my best. But I don't think I'm doing too bad, but there's definitely more there. I don't know if I can really put a percentage on it, but I at least feel like I'm identifying what I need to work on, and that's the first step, is admitting you're failing in certain areas.
Yeah. Miss Vic?
Mm-hmm. So, what's the best advice you've ever received about driving or racing?
It's kind of simple advice. Matt DeRoos, who is a former Grid Life Street Modified champion and kind of a perennial figure within Grid Life, he once said something that just stuck with me, and it totally changed the way I approach driving. And a lot of it broke a lot of bad habits that came from sim racing. And I won't even call it sim racing, playing Forza. And it was focus on the exit, not the entry. And it seems really stupid, but when you come out of playing video games a lot, and for some reason it gets in your brain, just brake later. And if you're actually more focusing on the exit, you can stretch you can stay on the gas a lot longer, stretch your straightaways out longer. And it backs up into you making corner entry better and carrying speed better. And if you're thinking about how you exit a corner versus more so than how you enter a corner, it will naturally make you enter the corner better anyway.
All right. You are the first one to get a two-part for this question, but enjoy.
Okay.
If you own the racing team, what two drivers would you want racing for you? And it's an unknown type of car and an unknown racing track.
So we're going in totally blind.
You need to win this race. You get two drivers, and they can be alive or dead.
Okay.
You're gonna like part two of this, but that's it. That's all you know.
Okay.
You don't know what you're driving on.
I don't know what I'm driving. I just know I'm on a track of some sort.
You're on a track.
The first one is actually going to surprise the shit out of you.
Okay.
One of them will 100% be Tom O'Gorman. And the reason I say that is due to not only is he good in multiple types of cars, and he's driven all sorts of stuff, and he is ballistically fast, but he's a ridiculously good autocross driver. And for that, you have to learn stuff crazy fast.
Okay.
And he's really good at that. So he'd be my driver.
Okay. You got two drivers, though.
I mean, you're really going to kick me out? Do I fit in the car or not?
Well, we don't know.
Oh, no. I mean, the next driver would probably be Fernando Alonso.
Okay.
I mean, again, he's made so much out of nothing for years.
Okay.
If anybody's going to drive a heap of crap to the front of anything, it's going to be Fernando Alonso, even at his advanced age. I don't need prime.
Well, you get to choose. You get to choose year, so you could get a 25-year-old.
I could take prime Fernando Alonso. I could take now Fernando Alonso. Whatever I get as far as Fernando Alonso, I'm stoked.
Okay, so you have ruined my part B of this. So now you're owning the racing team. You have three drivers, and they have to be grid life drivers.
Well, Tom has driven in grid life before.
I know, that's why I said now it's three.
Okay, so I'm gonna take him. Okay, Alan Patton would be number 2.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and do we know what type of racing we're doing, or is it just a car on a track? That's all we know.
It's a car on a track.
Okay, I'm taking myself. I'm sorry. Like, call it equal, whatever. I'm taking myself.
Fair enough.
James would be right in that mix.
Yeah.
It would depend on what the weather looked like, if James was gone or not. If I could like see the car and what the situation was, if it was me or James. But I'm not trying to like toot my own horn, but I feel like I have a natural talent for driving garbage. Like, I've driven really fast in some completely shit cars. And I think that talent matters in this situation when you start adding unknowns into it.
Mm-hmm.
So
if there's frost on the car, I would take James, by the way. Just
I don't know, man. I'm from Michigan.
He's from Michigan Plus.
Not that he is not from. We're about dead even as far as how far north we are. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I'm from Western Michigan, north of Gingerman by about 2 hours.
Okay. So you're up by what's that town?
Muskegon, Grand Haven area.
Okay.
Like, I'm in between Muskegon and Grand Rapids, a little town out in the middle of nowhere.
What's the one that has the really expensive airport in the Strawberry Festival right on the lake?
Traverse City?
Yeah. We've been up there a few times.
Yep, Traverse City's really nice.
Miss Vicki, last one.
Yes. Okay. Oh, I saw it. What do you feel that you excel at the track, and what do you feel still needs work?
I'm really good at making something work that maybe isn't working great. So like I said, I'm really good at kind of driving junk. Okay. And that's happened a lot of that is caused by my own bad setups, or, we're driving around problems with a car, or, whatever. I couldn't afford better tires. There's lots of stuff. I feel like I'm pretty solid at driving, a not great cars and trying to get decent results out of them. But through that, I think it has actually hurt my, I get it in my brain that I can just drive around whatever this problem is. And then when we actually fix the problem, I'm like, oh my God, this is so much better. And I pick up huge amounts of time that I actually have problems identifying problems because I'm so used to driving around problems. And I don't want this to be a knock on anybody who's ever helped me or whatever. These almost all are self-imposed problems that I have caused, because I am, in the end, Boogie is still my brainchild, from its inception, and a lot of these problems come from the original core concept of the car, and that we've done things to fix a lot of it, but I tend to be fairly stubborn on fixing certain things. I just try to drive around it, and that's one thing Dylan has done a very good job of. He wants feedback when I come back, and I'm trying. It's different because I'm not used to being able to give somebody feedback I'm not giving him enough feedback, and I'm trying to work to be better at that.
Interesting. All right, sir. Something goes horribly wrong. You now have an opportunity to build your dream race car. What do you start with?
This changes. Am I building a time attack car?
You own the team, sir, and you have an unlimited budget.
Okay. I mean, I love street modified, and I have an idea for, if I had unlimited budget, how to break street modified in a way that nobody would ever be able to deal with ever again. I would like to take an original GT40.
Okay.
And I could shove that into street modified, because I could run that with a 285 tire on the back, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And now you have this, 2,100 pound, maybe 2,000 pound car, with that old school V8. You put in a modern V8 with turbochargers and actually do some proper CFD testing on that car with modern tires and add ABS to it, which is fairly easy to do on just about anything these days. It would be nuts. And Dan Gurney was tall and he could fit. That means I can fit. We would set records that we would be running unlimited times with a street mod car. I truly believe.
Adam has been warned.
I had a conversation with Adam about that, because this got in my brain. I actually saw somebody working on at a shop. They were messing around with a replica. And I had a conversation with Adam. I'm like, some of these high-end replicas are actually certified by Shelby as GT40s and have VIN numbers for it. I'm like, would that be legal? And he's like, I would believe yes, but I would have to we'd have to really talk about that. And a high-end replica is still going to cost you $150,000, $200,000, but it's not, $2 million.
That's tipping money for your budget, sir. I mean, your budget.
Yeah, that ain't whatever. And a carbon fiber hood would actually be the entire front of the car.
Mm-hmm.
And I can run a carbon fiber hood and a carbon fiber trunk, and it'd be basically the whole car.
Yeah, pretty much. I can make carbon fiber stuff, but I don't know that I could make that for you.
No, I got money though. It's fine. I'll just
that's true. We'll get somebody good to do it, not me.
Yeah, we're fine.
We're fine. That's fine. Awesome. Sir, thank you for coming on again.
Oh, these are always
loving the podcast. Can't wait. Got a Jackie Ding episode coming up as today comes to a close, and
this should be up Monday. So yeah, real soon.
No worries. And then someday we'll know what the definition of time attack is.
Yeah, it's coming. It's coming. Heat exchanger has been a lot of fun to do. I'm really stoked at how well that podcast is doing. If you guys ever are looking for some spicy grid life GLTC / time attack content with some nut jobs who really don't care about what they say, it's been really good. And we actually have a Dropbox now that you can anonymously ask a question or make a comment, which is pretty cool now. So if you don't want to have your name attached to it, but you maybe want a question answered, you can do that. It's been really entertaining. And then the IG Thursday thing has been really good for the community. I actually had a really, really good phone call with a guy today who just found our podcast. We just started uploading to YouTube, and he managed to trip on it.
Right.
And he he's like, dude, I've listened to like 5 of these and I've learned so much already. And really what that is just an information dump. And it has been so good for the community. In the feedback I've been getting has been great. And now the community's starting to get involved and tell me what they want answered and, questions. And it's that has grown into its own thing. And that has been a ton of fun the past, we're at like year and a half with that now or so. And it's been a total riot.
Well, we don't have a Subaru to build at this point, but I just listen to it every week because I learn something about what I should know. It's kind of like if we had started when forums were still good,
Yes.
we would have been able to learn things. And through listening to that, I either get a concept or I get something that I can apply to our team.
That is exactly why we started it, because forums like Nasiak have died. And we needed, I just wanted there to be a decent place for people to get basic information. And, if it might not be the rabbit hole itself, but it might kick you into the rabbit hole to go learn more.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was the reason we had this turbo episode the other day.
Yep.
In one day, I got 3 questions from customers, calling in about turbos when I was at work, and it was just crazy stuff. And I kind of turned around and blew up on my co-host Warranty. I'm like, we're doing a turbo episode. Like, we're doing turbos for dummies because it needs to happen. And the feedback we've already got on that episode, people are like, oh my God. And now when people are calling, it's great. They're using the correct terms. They're using boost threshold lag correctly. I love it so much.
Yep. It's one of the things that was hard for us when we first started. Everybody's like, oh, you just look it up on the internet. I'm like, I look it up on the internet. I got 50 people saying this and 50 people saying that. And I don't know who these people are. When you're starting, you don't know who to listen to. And, hopefully over time.
And social media is really bad. So then what people will do is go to a group and go, hey, what kind of oil should I run? You know what I mean?
What's the best brake pad?
Oh yeah. What's the best brake pad? And like, you'll have people just start spewing answers, and then you'll have smarter people say, I really need more information than that. Are you using a track? What kind of car is it? Yada, yada, yada. And then, so sometimes the people will be like, well, I want to answer these questions. But other times people will be like, that sounds like a lot of work. I just want an easy answer. And then they get something and it's not what they want because they're just parroting stupid information. And social media is broken. Facebook could fix this. I've said this before. Facebook groups were a good idea, but you need to be able to make subcategories in groups and then be able to search the group specifically.
If you can't search, you're dead.
It all they had to do was the 2 things I said, and you could fix it. And any forum that was still out there, it would all get flushed right into Facebook. They would kill it, and then it would work on your damn phone. And that was the biggest thing that killed forums, was being able to sit on the toilet and read. That's why social media works. Your typical social media platforms work, and forums just didn't make that transition well. They were set up for a computer screen, and like Kappa Talk sucked. And so they died. All the conversation went on to social media.
Indeed. Well, we do thank you for doing that. If we had anything to do with you starting podcasts, the world should welcome us and say thank you, because you're doing a great job, sir.
Dude, you absolutely did. You were actually a big inspiration for this, because I'm like, that was fun. That really wasn't hard to do. And you can get people like from all over the place fairly simply get on. It works on really well. So yeah, you guys are killing it.
Face it, Dewey. You just said, if those idiots can do it, I can do this much better. That's what she said.
I wouldn't say said it much better, but it was more like, if they can do it, I can probably do it, and it wouldn't be awful.
No, it's definitely different, and it is. I think the single word to sum it up, it is Dewey.
I try.
All right, sir. Well, seeing the record break at Grid Life Midwest Fest is the one thing that may suck me out of my hole and get me out there for the first time. So looking forward to it. Good luck to you. Good luck to your friends. And hopefully we'll see one of you guys do it.
Mm-hmm.
I hope you do. I think this year's going to be huge. If the weather holds out, I think we're going to see something pretty amazing this year at Grid Life Midwest. So
should be great.
Definitely tune in.
Well, we're hoping it's you, sir.
I appreciate it. Yeah, at least I got
Absolutely.
somebody rooting for us.
Have a great night, Dewey.
Yep. See you guys.
How's things going, Dewey? 2 podcasts, then is that enough for you?
Oh man. And then now I got a bunch of other people. They're hearing what we're doing on the podcast. And they're like, you got to come on our podcast and talk. So now I'm doing a bunch of other podcasts. So I'll be doing like Flatirons Tuning here soon. And I think we're going to be doing something with Lizard Brains. And
That'd be good.
yeah, no, it's all good.
It's more work than you think, as you know.
Oh, it is. It's honestly, I came up with the idea for heat exchanger. Devin and I were having a conversation, and I'm like, man, there really needs to be a podcast for nut jobs like us, that we can talk about all this drama that's constantly going on with this with there's so many topics that are happening in the background with like good stories, but they're all kind of drama-y and people won't touch it. But it's all good topics. I don't understand, and I think that's something that I have some people who are listening to the podcast don't quite understand the concept of the podcast. But I came up with the name for the podcast through a chat, and I'm just like, we need some place where we can have like we can turn up the temperature and like really bring the heat. And I'm like, oh my god, I got the best name.
Indeed.
It's so good. Like, I'm so proud of that name. And yeah, so that's where Heat Exchanger. It took us a few months to finally say, screw it, let's just do it. And yeah, we've been doing it.
James is quite good on it now.
Oh, James came out of nowhere as an addition. Like, he loved the concept of what we were doing, and he actually asked us. We were like, James, we'd kind of like to have you on a few more times. We're going to talk about, some GLTC stuff, and we know you got some spicy stuff on there, and we wanted to have him as more of a reoccurring guest. And he was just like, oh, dude, I want to be a part of the show really bad. He's like, can I be on like every week? I'm like, hell yeah, dude. How can we not have you on?
No. I mean, you've never done anything in racing. No.
Dude's a monster.
He is. It's, I don't know if we started relatively late in racing, like beyond years, but not that long ago. And so I did a quick catch up on Grid Life like 2 years ago. So I went back to like the beginning, like anything I could find on YouTube and stuff, like the early Gears and Gasoline stuff, and then all the live streams and everything. But you really can't go back that far. But all of a sudden I started seeing what James had been doing back then. Who was the other guy that was racing with him early?
Probably Will.
Yeah, Will.
Yep,
And
he also got into it pretty hardcore with a guy named Fessler, which drove a Mustang. There was a lot of drama there.
Okay, so I'm just sitting there going, this guy it doesn't seem to matter what car he gets behind. Didn't know anything about him.
It's the absolute truth. Like, you stick him in just about anything, and he's fast. And he's been messing around a lot with circle track stuff lately too.
Oh, has he? Okay.
Yeah, so he's a total monster. I think one of the best things Gears and Gasoline ever filmed was a little short interview with him talking about Time Attack.
Mm-hmm.
And it still to this day just like sits in my core. That is rent free in my brain every single day.
That's fun. All right, you ready to get rolling, big guy?
Sure. You guys are steering it. I get to actually relax.
You get to relax a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm down.